Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So Coach McCARTHY today, he comes out in his press conference and he says the magic words. He says he definitely wants Aaron Rodgers back in 2026. And my initial reaction is like, oh shit, here we go again. What are we doing? But then when I give myself a timeout and I really think about it, Mike McCarthy is playing chess and he's not playing checkers. Will Howard is unproven at the quarterback position. He knows the free agents that are on the market. I'm sure he's very familiar with the players that are coming out of college at the quarterback position. So he's thinking, further down the road. He doesn't want to say or do anything that might make Aaron Rodgers say, you know what, I don't want to play. I'm done. If Aaron Rodgers is the best option in 2026, let's just say, hypothetically, in camp, Will Howard can't beat out Aaron Rodgers, then Aaron Rodgers should play. And that's the end of it. You don't have to like it. I mean, that's just, I do not want Coach McCarthy reaching for a quarterback in the draft. If we can't find our guy and that, we don't have a solid pick, if that's not the guy, then we're going to have to do what we got to do. We're going to have to let Aaron Rodgers play the 2026 season. But from the looks of it, Aaron Rodgers is coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026. And, again, it's a chess move. It's not checkers. Why limit yourself? Again, if they go into camp and Will Howard can't beat out Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy can clearly see that Will Howard isn't the guy or doesn't have the ability to play in the NFL, why should he play? Why should we just give up on the season? Why should we do that? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is a business that everybody's running, so let's treat it as a business. Let's jump into the article. Here we go. Mike McCarthy says he definitely wants Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh for 2026. Okay. Definitely, McCarthy said Tuesday during his introductory press conference via the team's YouTube channel. I don't see why you wouldn't. Knowing Aaron long enough, going through seasons, I think when players, to see Mel Blunt here, when guys are up at that stage of their career, they need to step away and decompress. I think that's very important. The game is so emotional. I have spoken to Aaron. That's really where we are there. I watch most of the Pittsburgh games on TV, and I thought he was a great asset for the team. McCarthy was Rodgers' head coach with the Green Bay Packers from 2006 to 2018. The two enjoyed a lot of success together, including winning a Super Bowl in 2010. However, there were questions about what their relationship is like today. Rumors spread that the two didn't always get along in Green Bay, especially toward the end of McCarthy's time there. The all-seeing Goy 1590 says McCarthy got his dream job and the entire city hates him for it. Poor guy. He was definitely emotional at the press conference, the tears, he wanted to. It's nothing like coming home. I mean, Bill Cowher, the same day, he can go to his class reunion and say, he coached the Pittsburgh Steelers, and so can Mike McCarthy. I mean, it's a big deal. Look, as far as going into the season with Aaron Rodgers, if that gives us the best chance to win again, I'm going to put my faith in Mike McCarthy that he has the Steelers' best intentions, that he knows exactly what he's looking for. He knows what he's seeing. If Will Howard can't beat out Aaron Rodgers, if there's not a free agent, if we can't draft a guy and Mike McCarthy says Aaron Rodgers is the man for the job, I'm going to take him at his word. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but again, he's playing chess. He's not playing checkers. Why limit yourself going into the offseason? He also went on to say, Mike McCarthy, there's 4 areas McCarthy outlines how he'll build Steelers coaching staff. The all-seeing Goy 1590 said, hey, look, we got to see halftime adjustments again. Yeah, that's true. There's 4 areas that I've looked at, McCarthy said Tuesday via the team's YouTube channel. Number 1, you got to have experts. You got to have men who know the league. This league evolves. You definitely want to be on the front end of the cycle. I think it's important to look at the current coaching staff in place. A lot of good coaches that were here in place under Mike Tomlin. I completely disagree, but I'm sure he's just trying to be nice. But hey, you have to take that into consideration. The third one is you got to look at some of these young and new ideas out there would fit the direction you want to go with your team, McCarthy added. And then you got to have them young dudes. You got to have the guys that grind. Well, this is my biggest problem with Tomlin, and I think this is what put Coach Tomlin in a very bad predicament. I mean, we all know that Coach Tomlin liked to have Terrell Austin because behind the scenes, and a lot of people feel like even though Terrell Austin was the defensive coordinator, that Coach Tomlin was still running the defense, and Terrell Austin allowed him to do that, and he was the fall guy. And I think that was a big mistake on Mike Tomlin's part, not surrounding himself with better people. I think, he should have had better pieces in place. He was loyal to a fault, but then again, maybe a bit might have been for his own benefit and his own control. We'll never really know. It's just, opinions and from things that we hear. But it's definitely important. The coordinators, it's a team game, and we need to have the cream of the crop coordinators offensively, defensively, and special teams. We need to be more creative. We need to be more creative, getting wide receivers open, our offense, our defensive schemes. I love today that Mike McCarthy came out and he said that the 3-4 defense is super important to Pittsburgh. That's the culture here. He's going to do everything. We're keeping the 3-4 defense in place. He knows how important it is to the city. The all-seeing Goy 1590 says, idiot always got bigger idiots. Yeah, you could say that again. Let's see what let me look for this. Let me look for this article. James Harrison had some input today. He said, would rather Steelers start Will Howard instead of re-signing Aaron Rodgers? That was I felt the same way, but here's the problem. Again, it's the best man for the job. If Will Howard cannot clearly beat out Aaron Rodgers for the job in training camp, and he doesn't give us the best chance to win, and Aaron Rodgers does, then Aaron Rodgers should play. And I'm not a fan of that. You're going to be like, oh, the other day you were saying the Steelers need to start. That's exactly what I said. I think the Steelers should go younger. But again, if he can't beat out Rodgers, then he needs to play. Excuse me. James Harrison would rather Steelers start Will Howard instead of re-signing Aaron Rodgers. It's nothing against Aaron. Harrison said Tuesday on his Debo and Joe podcast. It's just that in the process of trying to further the organization, that doesn't further us. Art Rooney II said that Mike McCarthy told him that he likes Will Howard. I would rather go and see what Will could do, even if we crash out. Maybe that's a good thing. James is all in favor of losing every game so we can get a better pick in the draft to get a better quarterback. That's his theory. Here We Go Sports said McCarthy is exponentially better than the previous coach, if nothing more than McCarthy admitting he needs to evolve shows a level of humility that didn't exist in Mike Tomlin at all. I mean, I completely agree with you. Here We Go Sports. You would hear Tomlin from time to time he would say things like, yeah, I'm open to change. But I just felt like he really didn't mean it. Mike McCarthy, when he says that the league is evolving, and I truly take him at his word. Tomlin didn't seem too enthusiastic about those statements. He seemed to only say that when, he said that a lot in the preseason in the camp last year. Like, yeah, I'm open to change, but there was never really any thought behind it or any plan behind it. Seemed like the same old thing to me. Rodgers had a fine 2025 season with the Steelers. He threw for 3,322 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in 16 games. He really caught fire near the end of the year, too. However, DK Metcalf's suspension hurt Rodgers and the Steelers' offense. That's another thing, too. You saw Rodgers on the field flipping out every game. F this. You see him screaming in the headset. I mean, with Mike McCarthy, they've already had a long tenure in Green Bay together. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will play much better in a Mike McCarthy offense. They're familiar with each other. Maybe Mike McCarthy will give him a lot more freedom to call his own plays. Who knows? Maybe it'll work out for the best. I don't know. From the looks of it, I don't think the Steelers are going to take a quarterback in this upcoming draft. Ben Roethlisberger explains the two Steelers helped most by Mike McCarthy's hire. I imagine that Pat fits in the West Coast system better, meaning Pat Freiermuth. I'm assuming that's who he's talking about. Hold on. Oh, yeah. During his most recent episode, Big Ben offered two names who might benefit the most: tight end Pat Freiermuth and running back Caleb Johnson. I imagine that Pat fits in the West Coast system better, Roethlisberger said on his Football and Podcast with guest Charlie Batch. I can't imagine that Darnell Washington does. Excuse me. Metcalf was a huge bust. I don't think he's a number one receiver anymore. I think he's a two. He's getting one money. So to a degree, I agree with you, the all-seeing boy. Excuse me. My nose keeps running. While Caleb Johnson may not be an especially great fit in McCarthy's system, starting with a clean slate is his ticket to a more successful sophomore season. What about the young buck from Iowa, the doghouse that's behind him now? Roethlisberger said he's out of the doghouse another year, get to learn. Well, the all-seeing goy, 1590, said 2 drop passes killed them in the last game. Alligator arms, worse than Ebron. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you. It's a true statement. I don't know. Pat Freiermuth, if you ask me, he brought that benching up upon himself because, in the year with Russell Wilson, when they would throw him the football, he would drop the ball at the worst times imaginable. He would drop footballs all the time. So to say that Pat Freiermuth is not responsible right away, everybody blames Tomlin and Arthur Smith. Oh, Pat Freiermuth wasn't used properly. He wasn't used properly. But leading up to the year with Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers, leading up to that, Pat Freiermuth was dropping a lot of footballs. So, Steelers to interview Jason Simmons for defensive coordinator position. The Steelers will interview Jason Simmons for their defensive coordinator position. According to Mark Capoli, Simmons is the current defensive passing game coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Simmons coached with McCarthy in Green Bay for 8 years, 2011 to 2018. Hopefully that's when they won a Super Bowl. As Capoli notes, there are plenty of ties between Steelers Mike McCarthy and Simmons. McCarthy first hired Simmons in 2011 as a defensive assistant, primarily to work with the secondary after spending 2 years assisting special teams. He returned to the defensive side of the ball as Green Bay's secondary coach in 2018. He was kept on staff for the first year under Matt LaFleur in 2019, then spent 2020 and 21 as the Carolina Panthers pass game coordinator and the secondary coach. Simmons served the same role for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2022 and 2023 before spending the last 2 years with Washington. I don't know a lot about him. I'm just telling you the news that I've been reading. Hopefully they work together hopefully McCarthy and Simmons work together when Green Bay won a Super Bowl. Here We Go Sports said, he said it's important for all 3 receivers to know how to play at all 3 spots in order to exploit matchups. It's sad that a statement like that excites us when that should be the common practice. Exactly. You watch the Steelers, you watch college games on Saturday and you're like, wow, that was pretty creative to get that person open. It just seems like the Steelers, it just seems like every play, everybody just runs deep. And if they get open and the quarterback's got to hold the ball for 6 seconds, it just didn't seem that sophisticated to get people open. And what you just said, all the receivers have to learn to play different spots to look for mismatches. It just shows you that Tomlin was doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that just confirms it even more. I agree. Here We Go Sports. That's absolutely sad. Rooney McCarthy provide hints about Steelers' vision of roster for 2026. He knows how to bring along a veteran team. And do we have a veteran? And we do have a veteran team, Rooney said of McCarthy, calling him, by consequence, a good fit for the Steelers roster. They had one of the oldest rosters in the NFL last season, though Aaron Rodgers scooted that. Yeah, of course. But the Steelers still have plenty of old goats on the roster. Cam Hayward will be 37 this year. Chris Boswell, 35. TJ Watt will turn 32 in October, as will Jalen Ramsey. Of course, some think they should trade Watt and release Ramsey. I mean, I don't think that Ramsey was an upgrade at all. He constantly got beat in pass coverage. I mean, I don't know. For what they're paying him, I don't know. This isn't a one-year deal, though, either. The Steelers have major roster decisions to make in the near future beyond the season. Among those playing 2026 on expiring contracts are Hayward, Patrick Queen, Boswell, Broderick Jones, Keanu Benton, and Joey Porter Jr. How many of them will see extensions on Mike McCarthy's watch? Oof. I mean, right now, just looking at that, it would probably be Joey Porter Jr. and Boswell if you just base it on production. Keanu Benton started to come on a little bit, but I mean, I like Broderick Jones if he's willing to be, take a pay cut and be the guy on the bench in case somebody gets hurt. But I don't know. I can't see most of those players coming back. It's hard for me to like Chris Boswell for the amount of money he's getting paid. It seems like an armed robbery. I don't know how the Steelers are paying him that amount of money. He's not getting paid well at all. Adam Scheffner reports Cowboys Lunda Wells to interview for Steelers offensive coordinator role. Cowboys tight ends coach Lunda Wells is expected to interview this week for the Steelers offensive coordinator job. Wells worked under Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy in Dallas for 5 years and interviewed this month for the Commanders offensive coordinator job. He is also head coach for the West, probably the East-West Shrine game. It won't pop up for some reason. I mean, again, I don't know. The Cowboys, I don't know what to make of these coordinators, Who knows? Here we go. Sports says George Pickens can run a go route was something that actually happened for 2 years. Essentially, we aren't going to know what to F and watch for. How have we been mind F this bad by such a historic team? Yeah, that's a good comment. I mean, don't listen to me. Listen to Julia Edelman and Tom Brady talk about it. They say the Steelers have been doing the same thing for the last 15 years. When I say that, I'm just a dork and a nerd with a microphone, according to all the people in the comments section. Roethlisberger comes out and criticizes, give this guy a chance. Roethlisberger criticizes nuts fans hating on McCarthy. I know people want this overhaul and this new guy, Roethlisberger said Tuesday on his Football On podcast. McCarthy's a new breath in the sense that his message is going to be completely different. He bled black and gold as a kid. To me, that trumps so much. I might take a guy as a head coach of this team that has a heart and bleeds for this team more than a guy that is just this offensive-minded genius. I agree. There's something about that people are not getting. They just want this whole new shakeup. I think people are nuts. Give this guy a chance. He's got a proven track record. I'm mad that people don't give the guy a chance because he wants this job. I want everyone to call in and tell me how wrong they were in 3 years. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Coach McCarthy's track record, he turns it around fast. He can develop a quarterback, and I think everybody needs to give him a chance. McCarthy grew up in Pittsburgh. Everybody knows that already. I'm not telling you something that you don't know. But I do think he's the best man for the job out of all the candidates. So I have no problems with the hire at all. Hey, a lot of people are not going to like that he came out today and said that he wants Aaron Rodgers back. But I think that's a smart move. I think that's a good decision. It's playing chess, not checkers. Why does he want to automatically tell a guy no that just threw for 25 touchdowns? Look, it's the NFL. Thrown for 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns is exactly what it is. There's no freebies in the NFL. The all-seeing Goy 1590 said he got to talk order. Mike run the ship. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do think you'll see better leadership from top to bottom. I think we'll see more accountability. McFadden, Mike McCarthy's press conference won me over, but he must please spoiled fan base. Are we really spoiled, McFadden? I don't really think so. The thing that I loved watching the presser, which won me over instantly, he's not professionally invested in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's personally invested in the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a different love. McFadden said Tuesday on CBS Sports HQ. I love it. He won me over. I'm on the Mike McCarthy train right now. Choo choo, let's go. Yep, me too. I mean, let's give him a chance. I mean, we feel we got a new new wind in our sails right now with McCarthy. I expect the offense to be much more competitive than what it's been in recently. Well, it's an offense. I hate saying this. I really do, because defense wins championships and defense wins Super Bowls, and we are the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we need better output on offense, and an offensive-driven league. Kills me to say it, but that's what it is. Oh. Joe Montana gives ringing endorsement to Mike McCarthy as Steelers head coach. What a great fit. The greatest quarterback in the NFL ever to play in the NFL is Joe Montana. I think it's great, Montana said Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show. I think it's a good fit. What a great fit from a guy that understands what that area is all about and how important football is to Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh area. I think it's a great fit for him. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do down there, because he's bringing completely different style of play into that offense. The all-seeing Goy says, yeah, yes, sad statement. Yeah. Also, McCarthy reportedly used his time with Montana as part of his pitch to the Steelers. That time clearly had an impact on him. He did enough to keep rising through the ranks too. The Chiefs named McCarthy as the quarterback's coach in 1995, and it only took a few years for him to become an offensive coordinator. Throughout his career, McCarthy has done a good job developing quarterbacks. Former NFL quarterback Matt Hasselbeck cited his year learning from McCarthy as the reason for much of his success. He also mentioned McCarthy's time coaching Montana. Hasselbeck had a good stretch for a while. Tough quarterback up in Seattle. Tough place to play. Tough team to beat back then. Let me see if I missed anything. Hold on. Bear with me. Current and former Steelers attend Mike McCarthy's introductory press conference. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Brian Backo shared a picture of Twitter showing McCarthy standing with Art Rooney II, Daniel Martin Rooney, Omar Khan, and several current and former Steelers. Joey Porter Jr. and Alex Highsmith represented the current team. Former players who attended included Joey Porter Sr., Ryan Shazier, Will Allen, and Mel Blount. Well, I like to see this. I like to see everybody. What's up, Fluffy Nug? YT, how you doing? Yes, you are my favorite moderator. Thanks for showing up. Was wondering where you were. I was going to send the SOS out for you. Well, I'm glad these guys. I wish TJ Watt was in attendance. I wish the quarterback showed up, but hey, everybody has things to do. The all-seeing Goy 1590 says, yeah, he's not awful. Smith not running with 8 tight ends. Yeah, I mean, I do expect, if Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I do expect under Mike McCarthy for him to have a better season this year than he did last year. And obviously the age is always a factor. I mean, when is he going to fall off the cliff completely where he can't throw a football? But his numbers weren't bad. So I don't know. Again, we got to leave all options open. It's not a good draft class for quarterbacks. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be free agents. Will Howard is coming off an injury. He didn't even get to play last year in the preseason. So I told you this before, when McCarthy first said it, I was like, I was all pissed off. Here we go, the BS, blah, blah, blah. And then you stop and think about it and you're like, you know what? That's the right decision to make. That's exactly what he needs to do. All right, I'm going to end it with that. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in. Hold on, I got another Fluffy Nug YT says, for this season, Aaron Rodgers only got sacked 29 times. Yeah, he was getting the ball out of his hands pretty fast. I'm sure he didn't want to get hit. Here we go, Sports said, is the offense coordinator even important? Is it just the DC that we need to keep an eye out for? I think, yeah. That's a good question, because you figure that McCarthy is pretty much, even though he's the head coach, he's pretty much the offensive coordinator, right? So I don't know. I just think that in today's NFL, how it evolves so quickly, you can never have too many smart minds around. Like, yeah, 3 smart minds are better than 2. So why not just, bring in as many intelligent people, creative people as we can to get this thing on track? But everybody's important. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Let's bring a whole bunch of meeting of the minds to get the Steelers back where they need to be. Because obviously with Tomlin, that wasn't a strong point by the Steelers, having the best people around him. So I don't care if they hire a whole platoon of coaches to bring in and everybody can brainstorm and get this thing back to the way that it needs to be. Yeah, Fluffy Nug YT, tell them make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate that. I'm going to sign off now. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4, 1, 2.